bill a week ago. It's a bill that transforms, not reforms, despite whatever the new jargon is. We've had one hearing today, which came at the request of the Democrats. Weren't even going to have that. And tomorrow we're going to mark it up. We've had 3 hours of hearing, and almost all of the questions have been answered with very little specificity. In fact, every answer is basically well, trust me, this is just the beginning of the process, we're going to work it out. Well, that's not very satisfying, and so I have some concerns that I hope somebody can answer with something specific. My first concerns, like a lot of them, are about cost. I represent Las Vegas, and as y'all know, that's one of the busiest world's top tourist and convention centers, and I often hear from the hospitality industry, if you increase the cost of tickets, that's going to hurt the number of people, or perhaps negatively affect the number of people who come for recreation and for business. Also, we have tour operators. There's a big industry that provides transportation out to see the dams, Colorado River, Grand Canyon, and those costs will be affected. So I'm just wondering if anybody can guarantee me that since the purpose of this privatizing, I've heard this over and over too, is to run more efficiently, have cost savings, if those cost savings will be passed on to passengers or if they're going to go into the bottom line profit of airlines. So can I say to my industry, yes, this is going to help to bring down cost, it's not going to increase cost. Then the second major concern I have, which is also one that's shared by many, is the representation on the board. My colleague, Mr. Hardy, was talking about how big the drone industry is in Nevada. That's true. It's growing everywhere, and yet you have no representative on the board. The air tour operators aren't on the board. Air ambulances aren't on the board. Consumers aren't on the board. Department of Defense, not on the board. Now, you got some little extra advisory committee over here, but we all know that's just window dressing. They don't really have any kind of authority. So how are their views represented by this board? And then the third question that maybe somebody can address is there's been a lot of focus on union issues for air traffic controllers, but what about the other unions, those who do the safety inspections, the tower maintenance, the construction? Is this board going to honor Davis-Bacon provisions, or now that it's a private corporation, can they just throw all that out the window? So whoever wants to answer those three questions, I would appreciate it. And maybe we can start with you, Mr. Poole.
I can tell you that, as I said earlier, there's a large potential for costs coming down because of the economies of scale inherent in air traffic control and the ability to focus more on running the thing as a business. Now, whether airlines will pass along cost savings that accrue to them in terms of tickets, that I cannot answer. You'd have to ask airlines that question.
You know, so many times we have heard that you need to run it more like a business, and then we let businesses do it, and then government has to come back and bail those businesses out because, sure enough, they couldn't do it more efficiently and effectively and cheaper than we could.
The good news here is that this is not a science experiment, because we have 50 or 60, depending on how you want to count it, or 80 countries that have shifted this outside of the transport agency, put the ATC system at arm's length from the safety regulator, and it's working very well. And we are seeing cost savings. We're seeing no negative impact on savings, and in many cases, improvements in safety. So, I mean, it's nobody can say you do X and you absolutely get Y, but we have empirical data and lots of it. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident this is going to be a very big step in the right direction.
But not in a country that's comparable to the United States. Yes, sir?
Well, I think it is a leap of faith. I think we're being told that the costs are going to come down. We have not seen where there will be personnel savings. We have not seen where there will be closures. So that part is not laid out. I'll take a little bit of issue with what Bob Poole has said. There's actually only been a couple of countries that have moved air traffic out of government entirely. So, you know, you're looking at Canada and the United Kingdom. You're not looking at 50 and 60 and all these other things. The rest of them are in government. And what we saw with the United Kingdom, for example, is they did require a bailout when the economy went down. With regard to the diverse groups that are not represented on the board, I think that's the challenge. We have the most diverse air transportation system in the world. It is constantly changing. It is constantly evolving. And the way that that community makes sure that its access to airports and airspace is protected is because of Congress, not because they were put into a board. We're talking about turning this over to a monopoly and letting the monopoly decide who can come in and who will stay out. I think it's a major concern.
If I could just sum up real quick, we're just a second. There's been an uncertainty of the shutdown, uncertainty of the market, uncertainty of this bill, uncertainty of who's on the board. Seems like maybe mandatory spending would be a better way to reform rather than transform the system. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sanford.